So aggressive. All right, welcome friends. Welcome to the second block of workshop time. Thank you very much for being here. I'm happy to present your speaker for this session. This is Sarah Griffith. She is one of our Rockstar CBA members, and we use her very much as a designee for our chapters in need. So she is a fantastic person and has lots and a wealth of knowledge. Let me give you her bio real quick before we start talking about preparing for the fall semester. Sarah was initiated into the Psi chapter at the University of Arkansas in the fall of 2011. While Sarah was an active member of Tau Beta Sigma, she was vice president of special projects and chaired the TBS half of a district convention planning committee. Sarah graduated from the University of Arkansas in May of 2015 and immediately began working in Rogers, Arkansas, and then moved to Tyler, Texas, to work as an accountant at Sudden Link Communications in July of 2016. She is an honorary member of the Southwest District of Kappa Kappa Psi and Tau Beta Sigma. Sarah also graduated with her Master's of Accountancy in July of 2017. At the 2019 National Convention, Sarah met her husband, JD, in Stillwater. They got married in 2020. She is currently a lead accountant for the Intermountain Healthcare and works remotely from East Texas. In her free time, Sarah enjoys spending time with family and friends, traveling, taking cute pictures of her dog, also JD's cats, but that's in parentheses, so I think she wants you to focus on the dog more, and beating her friends in volleyball. Please welcome Sarah to talk about chapter presentation or fall semester things.
Yes, welcome to my home office. Had to make it look very professional behind me. Still got to figure out where to put all my TBS stuff because we just moved here. But good morning or afternoon for some of you. So we're going to go ahead and start. And the overall question that I want to ask with this presentation is, what can I do now to make my semester easier later? Because we all know that you guys are really busy with all the things that come along with the fall semester, whether it's marching band or basketball band or classes, you know, the purpose of you going to college, all of those things. We know that you're super busy with all those things. And so we want to make sure that we're using the summer to also to rest and reflect and prepare for the upcoming semesters. So we're going to look for all chapter members, but also for various chapter officers or chapter positions. And then there's also some stuff that like committee heads could do as well to prepare for the upcoming semester. So we're going to start with chapter members. So chapter members could do any of these things and probably more. This is just what I could come up with on the spot. So you know your schools prepare a schedule of football games, basketball games, volleyball games, all of those things ahead of time, usually about a semester ahead of time. And so you can look up that information and put those things on your schedule, whether you use a paper planner or an app or Google Calendar or whatever. And those things already being on your calendar that you know that you're committed to, maybe you're in basketball band or maybe you're in marching band, having those things on your calendar is going to help you to prepare TBS things, not on top of those other things, but also it's going to help you to prepare for knowing like what service activities go before what football games and so on, or what weekends you have an off weekend and whatnot. So starting with preparing your schedule is going to be really, really helpful. The second thing that I think folks could put on their schedules is band practices. If your school has already publicized the schedule for that, maybe it's a class already on your schedule, so you could go ahead and stick those on there. If you already have your early week or whatever band camp schedule, sorry, it was early week at my school, you could go ahead and put those things on your schedule as well. And then you can add in chapter meetings if your chapter meeting hasn't changed in the last 10 to 20 years. Of course, if your chapter meeting is still up in the air, then that's something that you'll have to wait to stick on your schedule until later. But I think that putting all of those things on your schedule up front means that number one, you don't have to do that during the semester. You're not running 1 week behind at all times. You can already plan around these things, so you're not planning maybe 1 week has 3 basketball games, like 4 band practices, and the biggest football game of the year, and then you're also trying to like recruit heavily in that week. May not be the best plan. And so when you start off with all these things, all these commitments that are already kind of set in stone, you can move forward and plan more effectively for your chapter activities once you know where those things are. So it's really helpful to start and kind of set the stage there. I also think, like, you know, if there's something that came up last semester that there's a big question about it and you guys had to push it to the future semester, you can read up on those types of, like, I'm going to call them hot topics in your chapter constitution and in your national constitution, so that you're actually well informed about the issue, whatever it may be, when it comes up in the next semester. Or if there's anything you were curious about or anything like that. I also highly recommend to everybody that while you're making money over the summer, that you remember that dues amount that's due in September, and you save that amount from your summer money in preparation. So your chapter treasurer isn't having to come to you and go, hey, where's the money? Where's the money? Because it's very unpleasant to do. So just be thinking about that now while you've got some money coming in over the summer, probably. All chapter members can help brainstorm ideas and kind of send them to your officers as well. Even if you're not officially an officer, this is still a thing that every chapter member should be doing. And of course, helping prepare the MEP, we'll get into that a little bit later too. The last one I put on here, and I think it's actually the most important. If you ignore your sisters all summer, you're not really going to have a real connected chapter. So please connect with your sisters, have a virtual coffee date, or just connect on a Zoom call or whatever. Call each other. Maybe you're in a similar place for the summer, meet up, whatever, but stay connected. We all learned for the last 2 years how important that connection is. So please make sure that you're practicing that connection and continue to talk to your sisters and stay connected. So for all officers, also, all officers should be able to read their job duties in the chapter and national constitution. This sounds super basic, but I like to look at going into an officer position as I'm starting a new job. So when I'm starting a new job, I read the job description. We don't like to sign up for something that we're not familiar with. And I actually jot down the job description and refer back to it if I'm at a loss for something that I should be doing, or if I'm just brain dead that week or whatever, I'll actually go back to my job description and go, hey, wait a second, what am I supposed to be doing here? So make a quick list for yourself, maybe paraphrase it and not so much legalese, for you to pop back to when you forget what you're supposed to be doing over the semester, when things get a little crazy. This last one, adding cultural expectations to your list, very important. For example, some chapters have like this thing that's just known and it's not ever been written down ever. Like the parliamentarian always plans the band banquet or whatever. That's not going to be in your chapter constitution, but maybe it's an expectation. So be sure to write those things down in your like little job description that you've kind of made for yourself to go back to, so that you know what it is that you're expected to do. So I'm going to ask a question of all of you guys. What do you think that the president should be working on during the summer in general? And y'all can answer in like the chat or anything, or out loud if you want to. What are some things the president could be working on during the summer? I gave y'all a hard question right out the gate.
No wrong answers here, friends.
I love that answer. Getting familiar with Constitution and chapter operations. That is wonderful. Absolutely. Because your president should be one of the experts on that for sure. connecting with sponsor and director of bands, see if there's any special projects coming up this year. I dig that. Maybe your stands have been running out of steam for the last 40 years. Maybe that's a big focus. Leadership development and bonding for sure. Oh yeah. Maybe overall goals to share with the other officers as well. Like leadership development and bonding could be kind of communicated to maybe your vice president of special projects or your sisterhood chair or whatever structure you have in your chapter, for sure. Your president is going to be really overall those things for sure. Re-registering the organization on campus, snaps for that one. Thank you. Whatever documents are requested by the school, paperwork, all those things, thank you. Attending the mixtape. Yes, correct. You notice, preaching to the choir. That's awesome. Wait, Katie gets, Katie does get 10,000 points. I love that. All righty. Well, those were much better than what I came up with. They can also collect a semester and year goals from exec members. Encouraging the chapter to stay active with summer band activities. I love that for sure, because that is going to be really hard to, I don't know if y'all are having a hotter summer than usual too, but we are here and that's when my light is off. But, oh man. Yeah, so like collecting a list of like semester/year goals from exec members, maybe communicating down what overarching goals like leadership development and bonding need to be like emphasized throughout the year to people so that they have those in mind while they're working on their goals. Connecting with that sponsor and DOB, absolutely. And then also preparing your piece of the budget. That's going to be on every single officer's list. So each officer is going to probably have something throughout the school year that will cost money. And so if they're already like thinking about that in the back of their head or starting to like jot down some ideas of what will cost money, and even in the summer, or maybe they just put a dollar sign next to it in their notes, then they have in mind already what their pieces of the budget will be to hand over to the treasurer, which will make the treasurer's job a lot easier. So next down our lovely list is going to be VPME. And if y'all have anything to add to this, please send it in the chat. That would be great. Again, these are just what I could come up with at the top of my mind. But so VPME has a pretty busy schedule. I'm sure y'all know this. Like figure out the schedule and answer to the various questions in the membership education plan Google form. Locate last year's copy of the MEP. I will repeat that one because that's super important. Do not reinvent the wheel, please. Please, please, please. Locate last year's copy of the membership education plan and tweak it for the new year. If you don't have a copy, reach out to your counselors. Your counselors can provide you with a copy of what was submitted last year and approved so that you can take that and you can tweak it so you're not reinventing the wheel. If you have a fall plan or a fall membership education process planned, then you can actually submit the Google form this summer, and then your counselors will have more time to get your edits done and sent back to you so that when you enter the fall semester, you're either on your like third run of edits or it's already approved or whatever. And so you're already through most of that process. So parts of the budget for the VPME that would be very relevant would be like, for example, if they have recruitment events that they actually schedule and the VPSP doesn't really schedule those recruitment events, maybe they have ice cream. So the ice cream social would be listed for the budget. And then maybe they have like, let's see, roses that they give out after third degree. That would be listed in the budget. Maybe they have a couple other events like a pizza party, or maybe they buy something decorative that's a really chapter tradition or something. you list those out. Maybe the chapter buys pins for the membership candidates. And so that would be something to list out, and so on. Also, something that people don't really realize that should be in your budget, this is a side note, very chapter operations-y, is your dues should actually be both in the income section and your expenses section of your budget. So your dues for every active member should be in the income section, because your active members are paying into the chapter for those dues, and then the chapter is taking that money and sending it off to national headquarters. And a lot of people don't realize that that does actually go in your listed out budget. Yeah. And I'll keep giving some more examples of the budget pieces. I know that's kind of hard to visualize up front. For the president's a little harder, because sometimes things fall under them, sometimes it doesn't. The president should kind of have that stuff in the back of their head, so that maybe they can check through the budget later on and see, okay, yeah, we got this, we got this, we got this. Hey, so-and-so, Bob over here, did you forget about our annual picnic or whatever? So the president should be kind of a spot checker at the budget later on. And sometimes we'll add things in, depending on what it is, for sure. So next chattable question. What could the VPSP be working on this summer? And answer in the chat or out loud. That's a really broad question, isn't it? Focus on 5. It even says focus in the name. Yeah, absolutely. Focus on 5 is a great start there. Join the Facebook group for Focus on 5. Kind of get started and maybe planning out when you'll do those things, for sure. Ooh, so in about 5 days, we'll get to know what the new stripes are. So that means that you can start preparing throughout the year when to do those. And you'll have like all the deadlines and stuff for them too, which is great. Just in time. I'll keep calling out stuff that comes through the chat as well. But so VPSP can start preparing like a proposed schedule of service activities in general. So you remember back with our schedule, right? So maybe you provide water for football games and basketball games or whatever. You can start planning like at what time people have to be where based on what the game times were, if that's the VPSP's job. If it's some committee head's job, then they would do that, of course. But you could start estimating times for various pregame service activities, or maybe come up with a drafted schedule or see what worked well last year, kind of think through those things while you have the lovely space that summer gives us to kind of brainstorm. You can have a proposed schedule for various social events. I like to look at my schedule as a whole on Google Calendar and go, ooh, this week looks heavy, we're gonna avoid that. And then kind of go, okay, well, what about like one social event per month, maybe? Or perhaps my assistant would do like a social activity at the beginning of chapter when we had a lighter schedule in chapter for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And that would be a fun social thing, but it wouldn't take up a ton of time if there were like midterms that month or a ton of football games or whatever. So we really try to fit things in when things were not so busy for everybody. And then of course, as the VPSP is coming up with events and ideas and service activities, listing out that budget is going to be really important. So maybe you'll need more cleaning supplies, or some of the coolers are broken, and so we need more coolers, and maybe that's a one-time cost because those coolers will last forever, or until the next time they break. So you can list out like, this is how much 4 new coolers cost, and we need this, and we need to buy ice every week, And so we have like 6 football games, so this is how much ice we need. And so all of those things are very important to go ahead and start listing out while you're thinking about it. Again, this will make your treasurer's job a lot easier for sure, because you guys are the ones who know, hey, we need 7 bags of ice for every game day. Your treasurer's not necessarily going to know that. So, alrighty. Next up is secretary. This is a rather short list for secretary, but I'm sure there's more that could be done if your secretary's job is a bit more about like organizing the Google Drive or doing other things as well. Maybe there's some stuff they could help the historian with as well, with archiving things and organization. But for sure, the secretary should read over resources and responsibilities because they're a huge asset during the school year with attendance and things like that. Ooh, update the chapter roster. That is beautiful right there. That is a perfect summer project. So they can also prepare the agenda template for upcoming meetings, maybe throughout the rest of the school year, and kind of start adding to the first meeting's agenda or even the second meeting's agenda and so on. And kind of share that with the other officers as well and say, hey, what's something that we need to discuss in the first meeting? What's stuff that it can be moved to the second meeting? So our first meeting doesn't last 4 hours and so on. So secretary can for sure very much cooperate with the president for some of that arrangement as well. It kind of depends on historically who is kind of given out that information to the chapter, or if the secretary wants to be the one to say, hey, here's the agenda, put your stuff in it, and so on. So the secretary can for sure do a lot of preparing for the school year too. Treasurer, I will emphasize the second one on this very much. Make sure you have access to the bank account. Make sure you have access to the bank account, please. I don't think I can count at this point how much I've dealt with that as a CBA. But get the lay of the land regarding your various resources. If things are messy, look at it, dive into it, ask somebody for help if you're overwhelmed. This is the time to organize if it's needed, or to kind of get the lay of the land and go, oh, this is beautiful and organized, but I need to understand what this information is telling me. Reach out for help if you need it. Start your budget template for the new year. Prepare your budget section. Maybe so your budget section will include like money you're going to spend on fundraisers and your estimated income from those fundraisers. And then anything else that maybe kind of fell into your grouping would be appropriate as well. Or maybe you just use a copy of last year's budget and kind of leave the other sections blank until you get information from other officers. Having that template already started is going to be wonderful for your upcoming semester. And then you can kind of tag people in it if it's a Google sheet or something and say, hey, Bob, put your stuff in here, or whenever you're ready, put your stuff in here, kind of stuff. So that's really good to be organized as treasurer. Treasurer is one of the most underrated or undervalued, underrated positions in the entire chapter. A treasurer can make or break a chapter. Yeah, with much effort or with very little effort, can make or break a chapter easily. So please make sure that you are doing the best you can to keep your chapter running. And I will step off my soapbox right now and move on to the next one. So our next one is Parliamentarian Sergeant at Arms. What are some things that your parliamentarian could be doing throughout the summer to prepare for the school year? So what are some things your parliamentarian could be doing throughout the summer? Robert's rules. You should practice on your neighbors. I bet they'd love that. Read the Constitution. I love that one for sure. If you're intimidated by reading the Constitution, use Control F and search for keywords and start with the sections that you want to start with. But I do believe the president and the parliamentarian should read the full Constitution over the summer. For sure. So Obviously, definitely love that. So read the National Constitution and the chapter Constitution. If you want to skip through parts of the National Constitution, I'm not going to judge you for that. That's okay, because some of it does apply to like National Council and things like that. It's not a bad thing to understand those things, but if you are pressed for time, you can search the National Constitution for chapter specific items. And then I actually will go back to it when I need some help with a specific issue, and I'll search the National Constitution. But I for sure advise you guys to read the full chapter Constitution. I would also set up a file with potential chapter Constitution edits, like as you're going through it, and kind of just jot down the items that you want to re-review with the chapter. Don't draft all of them yet. That is committee work. It is committee work. Please don't do it by yourself. Do not Superman this. We have sisters. It is committee work. So if there's anything else that comes up that you need to like talk to somebody about, maybe schedule a meeting with the president, talk through it with them, maybe talk through your general goals for the semester. All of those things would be fantastic for the parliamentarian to do. Yeah, let's see. Committee heads or other folks. So, you know, if we've got a ritual committee head, some chapters have a ritual committee, a social committee, a historian, or a service committee head. All of those folks can absolutely do things over the summer. If you're a ritual chair, then I would highly advise for you to get a copy of the ritual book and read through it. Make notes, but you know, not in the book, of course, maybe like with post-it notes or something, about like, hey, we haven't been doing this, or we need to do this, or hey, we're missing ritual item number 1, or whatever. Kind of make notes about things. Maybe you can put those things in the budget if you're missing a ritual item, or if it's broken and it's been broken forever. You can kind of help see what things need to be done, or what things need to be worked on in the future, or maybe what songs need to be worked on in the future. And that way you can plan for your semester as well. Maybe you work with the music chair if there's one, and see if they can help you schedule or can schedule music practices for folks, or maybe music practices by part if you need to break it out that way. I mean, there's so many things that you could do with ritual chair. Social chair, if you have one, then they would either work with the VPSP, or depending on how your chapter breaks it out, they might work with the VPSP, they might work on their own, maybe they're just doing social things. But either way, I think the social chair really needs to know what the VPSP or their equivalent is planning, so that their stuff isn't on top of each other. Your service events or your service stuff and your social stuff need to be pretty spread out nicely, or like your social stuff needs to be related to your service stuff, so that you're not overwhelming your chapter members with a too busy schedule. Same thing with BPME. Your BPME, your VPSP, and your social chair, all of them need to collaborate so that you don't have a million things on top of each other. In fact, y'all should just plan to get coffee like once a month, maybe more. Service chair, if you have one of those, same deal there. Absolutely with the planning. Historian, that might be more of a like, if you want to dig into historical archives or history projects, that would be good. Otherwise, you can get organized for the future with like, maybe you're making a folder for each event in the Google Drive, and maybe you're asking for volunteers to take pictures of various things and to save them in the Google Drive after each event. You know, kind of figure out how you want to do historian in the future. Are you making a video at the end? Do you make a scrapbook, etc.? What are your expectations? All of those things really apply here. But anyway, if y'all have any more ideas for those various committee head things that you could do over the summer, please put them in the chat. I would love to see that. But also, I'm ready for any questions y'all may throw my way. That was pretty much all I had. I'm going to put my contact information up here. And yeah, it's been really good to talk to you guys today. and see your ideas as well about things that could go that could be done over the summer. And I'm here for questions if anybody needs anything, and feel free to email me if you have any questions, concerns.